All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get everybody back into the room. We're going to go through a couple. I said it was one item. It's actually two items that we're going to be raffling off here. But we need everybody back into the room before we can start that particular process. I'm going to slip back here. Before we get going, where are my friends yesterday, if they're still here, that I had on the stage from Alabama and North Carolina? They were from one specific table. I know they're back over this way, but I don't know if their table is moved. You guys, okay. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss you guys. I'm going to come see you guys in a couple of moments because I had some gift cards for you. I want to make sure I get those into your hand. I'm just going to give us about 30 to 45 more seconds to make sure everyone is back in the room because I don't want anyone that is not in the room to miss out on this potential, both of these items that are going to be auctioned, not auctioned. I don't know why I have auction on my brain. Going to be raffled off in just a moment. So, Jared, let's hit some background music, and we'll be back out in, like I said, like 30 seconds, and then we're going to make these these two raffle items happen. We'll be right back. Both items from the same drum, correct? What are we doing? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you are in the room, you're going to have the opportunity to win some pretty amazing items. If you are not in the room, you can't hear me, so you don't know what I'm going to say. You're going to miss out. You're about to miss out on some pretty incredible stuff. I'm going to let our friends from RX Medic take the floor for a moment. If you would introduce yourself, and then please, I'll let you explain, because you'll be able to do it best, what it is we're giving away today.
Sure. I'm Will Humphreys of RX Medic. Thank you, guys. We've had a great turnout at our booth. We're going to be raffling off two items. One is an automated will call bag system. It's a 200 bag system. And we're also raffling off an RM1 pill counter. So I'll let Scotty, we'll start with the first item.
All right, sounds good. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Again, you must be present to win. So if you are not here, we're only going to give you just a moment to let us know that you are in the room and that you will be receiving this prize. If not, we'll move on rather quickly. This is going to, this first item, and what was this again that we're giving away?
This is the automated will call bag system.
Okay, very good. This goes to, the name of the pharmacy is Moose Pharmacy of Salisbury. Kyle Yoder. Is Kyle Yoder here? There he is. Let's give him a big round of applause. Kyle, congratulations to you. What was your booth number?
305.
305, Kyle. Make sure you go there. Congratulations. Let's give Kyle another big round of applause. I love it when they're here. I love it when they're here.
One more winner. This is for the RM1 tabletop pill counter.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready. Who would like to win that? Make some noise out there. Yeah. All right, let's find out who this next winner is going to be. Remember, you must be here. I might pronounce this wrong, so forgive me. I'm just going to say your name. Well, let's go with this. Pharmacy name. I'm just sorry if this is wrong. Kubat Pharmacy. Jessica Karas. Is Jessica Karas here? Jessica. Jessica Karas. Is Jessica here? I see people pointing, but I don't know if they're... You're Jessica? Same pharmacy.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
Good enough for them. Congratulations. All right, let's make sure we call Jessica and say, Jessica, guess what you just won? Stuff. Very nice. Let's give them a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you to RX Medic. All right, next up, we're going to bring Charlene up. Charlene, why don't you tell us a little bit about your product and service, and then you have a raffle as well, yes?
Yes,
okay,
I do.
Perfect.
Correct.
Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Hi, good morning. My name is Charlene. I'm with Ocean Blue. Thank you, PDS. Thank you, all of you. We are a pharmaceutical-grade omega-3, the only omega-3 OTC on the market that has clinically proven on our label. We have a clinical study that shows a reduction of 48% of high triglycerides. We also have a high profit margins of 45%. There's no fishy aftertaste or burp. We also have a lot of new products for those of you who already carry the 2100. And we have samples, marketing materials, posters to support you and your pharmacy and your sales.
Awesome. And what are you raffling off today?
I am raffling off a $100 Amex card.
All right, a $100 Amex gift card. And that is going to this lucky winner. And what was the number of your booth?
Yes, by the way, I am at 222, right
You're at booth
outside.
222.
Yes.
Okay, important information to know.
Yeah, very.
Booth 222. And that winning number is 351107. 351107. Go see Charlene at booth 222. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Let's give our friends over there a big round of applause, please, from Ocean Blue. All right, we've got some shout-outs to do before we bring Dan back onto the stage, and some more free stuff to give away as well. Suit RX Intelligent Pharmacy Software enables independent and small chain pharmacies to use state-of-the-art technology to better meet the needs of their customers while increasing speed and accuracy with their pharmacy. Their special today and throughout the weekend has been 25% off their software license fee, and they are raffling off, ladies and gentlemen, a flat screen TV. So, yeah, I know. Ooh, that's nice. Very nice. And that is going to 351648. 351648. And their booth is 428, located in the center of the exhibit hall. 351648. Congratulations to you. You're the winner of a flat screen television. All right, our next vendor is Feel Good Incorporated. Provides portable TENS, that's the TENS unit, offering a wide variety of benefits, including alleviating back, nerve, and diabetic pain and migraines. Their units can also improve circulation, sleep patterns, and have been shown to decrease the use of pain relievers that can cause negative side effects. Their special is, at their booth, 50% discount on all of their products, and they're actually raffling off one of their TENS units. They're in booth 807, so the following number is going to win themselves a TENS unit. I love a good TENS unit. You know what I mean, Table 5? Can't go wrong with a good TENS unit. 155549. 155549. Go visit Feel Good Incorporated at booth 807, located in the far right of the exhibit hall. Thank you so much to Feel Good. Our next is Match RX. They operate the DSCSA compliant online marketplace where independent member pharmacies can buy and sell small quantities of non-controlled, non-expired prescription drugs to satisfy specific patient need. Sell what you don't need to other independent pharmacies and buy what you need below WAC to fill a patient script. Over 5,000 independents are members of Match RX. Members that use a marketplace have been saved in between $36,000 to $60,000 annually by selling overstock and buying at a discount from other members when needed to fill a patient script. Their special is no fee to register to join MatchRx, and they are giving away $100 in cold hard cash. A $100 bill going from MatchRx to this winning number that I'm picking right now. Their booth is located in 228, back left corner of the exhibit hall, and that $100 cold hard cash goes to 155933. 155933 from our friends at MatchRx. Congratulations to that winner. And ladies and gentlemen, moving on to Imbue Botanicals. Highly therapeutic, well-supported CBD products that allows pharmacies to participate in an exciting, fast-growing industry. They also provide a clinical-grade CBD to ensure real results, a healthy alternative and revenue generator in their space. Their special is an additional 10% off if they order at our show this weekend, and they're raffling off a $100 gift card located in booth 428 at the center of the exhibit hall. This is a $100 gift card from Imbue Botanicals going to ticket number 352423. 352423. You'll be the winner of that $100 gift card. Electronic billing services, a solution for billing, reconciliation, denial management, audit response, consulting, and compliance training. They specialize in DME and pharmacy clinical services, such as immunizations, DSMT, and MNT, and bills to all medical plan payers. Their special is EBS is offering $50 off enrollment for the PDS 2018 Super Conference attendees. Their raffle item is a 10.1-inch Wi-Fi cloud digital picture frame. You and your loved ones can send photos and videos from your iPhone or Android using this cloud digital picture frame, and that picture frame can be picked up at booth 731, the right back corner of the exhibit hall, for ticket winner number 155822. 155822. Make sure you visit Electronic Billing Services in booth 731. And our final for this segment, ladies and gentlemen, are from our friends at Isogenics, full-body nutritional program detoxification, weight loss niche market, no inventory to be sure to visit. Lisa, located in booth 104, she's right back there with her hands in the air, waving them like she does not care. Booth 104, where you see all the lights, that's where you'll find them. And make sure you talk to Scott Burnett as well. Go back, see Isogenics and all the great programs that they have to offer. Are you ready to continue on, ladies and gentlemen? Are you sure? Let's welcome Dan back to the stage. Dan, come on out, sir. Here we go. Oh, Nicolette, I'm sorry. Nicolette.
That's okay. I tied Dan up backstage because I was really excited to announce our next speaker, and I wasn't going to take no for an answer. I'm Nicolette Matthey, a pharmacist and Director of Clinical Services with PDS, and I'm very excited, as you saw, both with the data analytics and therapeutic optimization, and marrying that together with clinical services. And in my mind, and in your minds, it's very obvious how those two come together. What I do want to stress in announcing our next speaker is that pharmacists are among the most trusted healthcare professionals. And with great data comes great responsibility. So that's why I feel good about what we're doing, what you're all doing, because we are the most trusted and we will do the right thing with all of our data. Now, with your data analytics, with your therapeutic optimization, all of that ties in with your clinical services. So our next speakers are going to speak with you about PDS's Clinical Services Profit Igniter program and all the resources and materials and amazing things that our collective group is doing in clinical services and going beyond dispensing. So with PDS, we have an amazing team of pharmacists who are working on the clinical team. We have Elaine Ladd, we have Brian Mays, we have Amina Abubakar as our adjunct faculty, we have Olivia Bentley. They have a lot, they have about a dozen almost now, clinical pharmacists working in the field every day, doing collaborative practice, working in physician offices. One of their clinical pharmacists, Dana Holliday, works with us and with PDS and with our members one-on-one. So please, our next speakers are from Charlotte, North Carolina, and they're at RX Clinic Pharmacy. They're doing amazing things. They're truly the poster women of pharmacy right now, and it's just an honor and a privilege to work with them on a daily basis. So please give a level 10 welcome for Amina Abu Bakar and Olivia Bentley.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. We're just going to jump right in. We have 10 minutes to flood your minds with a lot of information.
And we recruited a new friend. So, the slides? Okay, so clinical services is a class that we want you guys to understand. It's not a destination, it's truly a journey, right? You heard from Joe Moose talking about we don't want to get paid on the 10% of the pie. It's the 90% of the pie that everyone's trying to figure out how we get there. But what we want people to understand is when you want to run a 5K, you have to jog, you have to walk, jog, then maybe walk and jog before you can run a 5K. So it's from the couch to 5K is the journey of the training. So why? We're not going to spend time on that slide because we want to tell you we are now getting letters from payers talking about value-based care is here to stay because they've seen the data. So most people who took this training before, they went to the doctors and the doctor said, no, I don't need your help. And they got discouraged. But one thing you need to know for sure, year 1, you do the work. Year 2, they get measured. Year 3, they receive their data. So maybe when you went in, they had not gotten their letters telling them how they're going to lose money. They haven't seen the equivalent of their DIR fees yet. So now we're seeing doctors sending us letters saying, is this what you were talking about? Well, I'm already at 4% penalty. How can you help me? So the knowledge that you receive, don't lose it. You need to continue engaging and leveraging your services to help them because they are going to need you. And the what is simply, when we talk about clinical services, it's not just physician collaboration. Yes, that's great if you can get there. But you heard people today talking about they improved their immunizations, they got diabetes accredited programs, so now they are not offering free diabetes education. And this preventative care, they are no longer just in Medicare. Private insurance has released several codes on preventative care, so your population now is beyond Medicare. It is anyone who has a payer that wants to save money.
So most people forget, I feel like when you come to this class, everyone's so excited about the physician collaboration, but we cover all of these things too. And I really want to thank the pharmacies that have told us, hey, your program has really saved my diabetic patients because now we're doing DSME and we're billing for it with our pharmacy MPI. You don't need a collaborator for anything on this screen. We go through, people have done point of care testing with launching flu protocols. Pharmacogenetics has been growing really well in certain states, especially if you have that right patient population that's just hungry to find out the information about what medications they can really take. CPSN USA, we've been talking a lot about that. We show you how to really make use of those care plans and aggregate that data to help you show a value in your community first. So you do all these great things, and that gets you foot in the door for all of the next services as well. So now that the doctors are receiving your recommendations and seeing you as part of the healthcare team, it's much easier to say, hey, can I offload some of these preventative care services? So in the training, we teach you annual wellness visits, and we've learned a lot more add-on codes. Every year, there are new add-on codes, but also every year there are new modifiers and way to bill those because CMS is trying to make sure you're not just billing. You have to actually show value.
And to add on that, a new code that is starting right now for those who are going to be coming to the April training, imagine being paid to review data from a wearable. $60 to review data from a wearable, a month data, and that's from Medicare. So we're excited that every single day there's a new code that pharmacy can leverage these relationships. It doesn't have to be all these complicated ones. You could be the pharmacy that takes that data, analyze it from for a medical provider, and get paid $60.
And I'm very excited that one of our clinical pharmacists, the doctor signed the paperwork, so now she has prescribing rights. And I've just been really proud of Mandy Irvinart. She's now a CPP in North Carolina, able to prescribe because she sees a lot of our Incident 2 patients.
But it didn't start with us getting there. It started with us just doing great MTMs, right? It started with us showing a little bit value every single day. So from the training, now with the support with PDS that has given us the bandwidth to really work with you guys and figure out all the challenges that you get so we can take them to what we call our lab, figure them out, and release them back to you in a strategic way so you can be successful.
So the how. With how, you know that working with all you 100 pharmacies and hearing all the barriers that come up, there is now a clinical services support team. Nicolette mentioned that whole team of people. So if you've come to the class and you've hit this wall, whatever that wall is called for you in your pharmacy, now if you contact your PS, we can set up an SOS call where they will divert that information to either the question to Amina, myself, or one of my clinical team.
And
we'll
we've enjoyed taking these calls, you know, like Zach. The first day he entered the clinic, he needed help because suddenly he was flooded with opportunity. And he reached out to his PS reached out to us, and we were able to give him a strategy right there. So what's rewarding for me is talking to Zach and saying, at the clinic, they're now wanting the patients to see me. But you know what? They took this class 2 years ago, but their fruits are today. And we brought him because yesterday, I owe you one, okay? I overheard him describing his story. And I said, could you come to the stage with us? Because maybe you guys have stage fatigue with me and Olivia, right? Oh, we see them everywhere. Those two crazy girls. You know, yes, we are crazy, but we are crazy because we want successful pharmacy. So we're not going to stop. We're going to try. We're going to go into every zone so we know we have something permanent in team-based care. But listening to him is what made my day yesterday.
Thank you, Olivia. First thing I have to do is thank my amazing wife, who's been my business partner for 30 years. Wouldn't be here without her. And my awesome team. I'm the least important member of my team, and that goes by everyone. Instead of calling me Steve at work, everyone calls me Hunter. So it's Hunter, I have a great idea. Hunter, we set our goals too low last year. We've got to get them up. So we really started the journey 2 years ago at Amina and Olivia's first intensive training. I immediately got the idea. These two were still on stage. I told my wife, keep taking notes. I want to be the first person in line for the intensive conference in Charlotte that following April. Before I went to the intensive conference, I know how hard it is to get in, to fight through the drug reps, to get into the doctor's offices. We made appointments 3 months in advance with our top 5 doctors, top 5 prescribers. We didn't even know what we were selling. I hadn't been to the weekend. I just believed that this was pharmacy's opportunity. It's Christmas dinner. You just got invited to sit at the adult table. This is what pharmacists were trained to do, not to look at a screen monitor, fill 500 prescriptions a day, and look at white pills in a bottle. Clinical services is truly pharmacy's opportunity to become part of integrative healthcare. So we took the conference. I got back on Sunday. I had my first appointment on Tuesday. The guy got it right away. Within 15 minutes, he was like, where do I sign? That was amazing. After about 3 months, I went back to him. I said, you know, how do you like having a pharmacist in here, you know, once a week? I would like to have a pharmacist in here 5 days a week. We have 2 other prescribers now, 3. We went from $60,000 in clinical services in 16 to $120,000 with 5 $50,000 in accounts receivable, and we're shooting to double that this year. And we're also, interesting side point, we're in a small town. My doctor said, we don't know how to write for compounding, we don't know what you could do. In 2016, our compounding business increased $250,000. When we achieve our goals this year, we'll have gone, we also in 2016 were heavily recruited by CVS Caremark. We lost a lot of our good patients that had to go mandatory mail order or go to CVS, which we don't even have a CVS in our town. We lost $250,000 in retail sales. In 16, we actually made money even with that lost sales. Last year, we made $150,000 net. Our goal this year is $400,000. So we went from losing $50,000 to making almost $500,000 in net profit.
Woo.
It works.
Thank you. And he has not even optimized all the codes. So we know that the opportunity is there. He has a seat on the table, and he's a valuable team member. So we want to see you guys in Charlotte, and we want you to utilize the new support team that the PDS has. So if you got to know before, contact your PS. We want to know why. Thank you.
Can I have just 5 seconds? One thing I also wanted to mention to you, because directly as a direct result of the clinical services, we actually became part of the physician community. We initiated a program, a pilot program last year in our county. We're in a small rural county in western Pennsylvania. The opioid crisis is a real problem for us. Our EMTs see one overdose every shift, not every day, every shift in our small county. So that's over 1,000 responses they're doing. We initiated a program with our clinical physicians to provide pain compounds as an alternative between ibuprofen and hydrocodone, oxycodone. And the physicians bought into it big time. I mean, we're telling people, we don't want your prescription business, but come to us to get your compounded pain prescription. We rate everybody on a scale of 1 to 10. We have about 70% success rate. And we do the 1 to 10 pain. We're seeing my pain before was an 8, it's a 2. We're seeing it was a 9, now it's a 3. I used to take hydrocodone 4 times a day, and now I take 1 right before bedtime. I have young guys coming in to me with work-related injuries telling me, I don't want my kids to think I'm a drug addict. We're making a huge impact on this crisis in a very small community, and that opportunity is out there for everybody.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys.
Don't forget your basketball. All righty. All right. Just play with me for a second. Would all the men in the audience please raise your hand? Okay. Those of you who read your horoscope, keep them up, keep them up, keep them up. Those of you who read your horoscope every day, keep your hands up. Yeah. I know. So somebody just sent this to me. My horoscope for today is network and share ideas with your community. Communication flows for creative brainstorming. Jeez. How crazy is that? All right. Our speaker next. This is Full Potential, how the best leaders perform at their best under pressure. Our speaker today is one of the nation's top thought leaders on emotional intelligence, personal transformation, and leadership. He's been engaging and inspiring audiences for more than 25 years, and his clients include Microsoft, Seattle Seahawks, Pandora Radio, Starbucks, Boeing, Ritz-Carlton, Cisco, and Starwood Corporation. He's an international best-selling author and a trusted executive coach to CEOs, business executives, and leading entrepreneurs. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a level 10 welcome to Mr. Steve Gotzler.
Wow. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much. Wow. Standing ovation. I love it. Great to be with you. This is the super conference because you are the elite performers in the pharmacy industry. And I love that. You're the top leaders. You're the thought leaders. You're the innovators. You're the game changers. You're the ones that are going to set the trends. And a lot of it has to do with your mindset. A lot of it has to do with our potential. And we're going to talk a little bit about emotional intelligence. I'm going to weave in some thoughts regarding your potential, and hopefully in the next few minutes there'll be some challenge points, and I'm hoping that in the course of our morning you're going to make some new decisions. But before we get there, I'm going to ask that you do something with me. Would you just stand with me right where you are? Just stand right where you are. I won't have you do anything weird. Just stand up. Come on, let's stand up. Has it been a good conference so far? Awesome conference. I want to thank Dan. I want to thank his leadership, this team. This is such a fantastic conference. Let's thank Dan, can we? And the entire team. Absolutely. What I want you to do is I want you to greet the people around your table, but this is how I want you to greet them. Don't do it yet. I want you to greet the people as if you're totally uninterested in them and you're actually looking for someone far more interesting like Magic Johnson, okay? Just greet the people like you're not interested in them. Go ahead. Not interested. All right, that was very uninspiring, very uninspiring. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to greet the people around you, but this is how I want you to greet them. I want you to greet them totally different. I want you to greet them as if they're a long-lost friend. You haven't seen them in 15 years. They're like an old drinking buddy, and you're thrilled to see them. Now greet the people around you. Come on. That's so much better. You can be seated now. You can be seated. I do a lot of coaching and training around the subject of emotional intelligence. You've got an amazing background of academic and knowledge and healthcare, and you are a credible leader just by that. But I often tell leaders, whatever that competency that you bring to the table, that's actually going to get you in the game. That gets you seated in this area of your profession. Your emotional intelligence is going to determine how far you go. Your ability to work with people, your social skills, your ability to self-regulate your emotions under critical moments. We'll talk about that in just a moment. My dad owned and operated a little restaurant called Tom's Pancake House in Beaverton, Oregon. It's a suburb of Portland. And I grew up in that. I grew up peeling potatoes in the back room at age 9, and I graduated up to washing dishes and then a busboy and then a grill cook and got to be a host out front. And finally, my dad said, Steve, at about age, I think I was 18 or so, he goes, I'm going to promote you to an assistant manager. But I want to teach you something, Steve. And he said, by the way, I'm not promoting you because you're in my family. You earned it. You've worked hard. But I'm going to teach you a leadership principle, a leadership kind of principle that's going to serve you in whatever profession, whether you stay in this restaurant business or not. And little did he know I would start my company 20 years ago, and I've got executive coaching clients, 30 of whom are high-performing leaders, and I travel around talking about this very subject. But he taught me the cornerstone. He took me to the back of the restaurant, and he says, we're going to go all the way back to the back door. And I want you to walk into this restaurant, Steve, and I want to remind you of something. When you walk in and you step foot onto Tom's Pancake House, I'm going to ask that you bring a capital A attitude. Because all the employees are going to feed off of that attitude. I don't care if you have a head cold. I don't care if you've had a fight with your girlfriend. I do need you to have a capital A attitude. And it's amazing, as an 18-year-old kid, I started to get that, how important that was. And then he said something I'll never forget. He said, attitude doesn't have to be the only thing, Steve, but it does need to be the first thing. Daniel Goleman wrote a fascinating book called Emotional Intelligence. I read it, 15 years ago. I'd been teaching and training on leadership, and it just like jumped off the page as I read this book. Because in the middle of this book, he said, each one of us, no matter what profession you are, and you run pharmacies, you own and operate businesses, you interact with patients and customers and clients, you have teams and employees. And he said, every single day, you're not just exchanging prescriptions. Every single day, you're not just writing out schedules and greeting customers. You're not just giving information away. That's only half of the equation. The other equation, Daniel Goleman said, is you hold an emotional economy. And at the exchange point, at that moment of that simple human exchange, people will come away from you feeling a little bit better about themselves and their situation, or a little bit depleted. Just like my dad said, every single day, Steve, that attitude exchange is powerful. We hold an emotional economy. Your mood, your attitude, your emotion is contagious. And one of the things I like to ask leaders, I want you to really think of, this is one of the big takeaways I want you to think about. What are people, when they have that encounter from you, when they walk away from you, are they being depleted, or is there a value add? So critically important. The emotional exchange, the mood exchange. All the odds makers agree. A guy by the name of Lee Capps ought to be dead. He took off in a private plane not far from where I live, in Renton, Washington. It was a beautiful day, a crystal blue day in Seattle. He'd never been in a private aircraft. His friend was the pilot. They were just going to take a 30-minute scenic route around Seattle and the Puget Sound. Lee was like a kid, so excited. They got right up to cruising altitude. His friend was a pilot, and he had a massive heart attack and died. The pilot collapsed on the control panel. And in that moment, in that instant, cortisol was released into his system, the stress hormone, which can literally, in that fight or flight moment, when it's that serious, can nearly paralyze you. And Lee was nearly paralyzed, but he knew he needed to do something. So he pulled that guy off the control panel. He got in the seat. He did what you would do. He did what I would do. He grabbed that radio and he said, "Help! Somebody help me. My name is Lee Capps. I'm up here in a plane. My friend that was the pilot just died, and I don't know how to fly a plane." A very calming, reassuring voice came over the intercom. Said, "Lee, there's some good fortune in this." He said, "Really? What is it?" He said, "Lee, not only am I an air traffic controller, I'm a flight instructor. Would you be open to a couple flying lessons?" He said, "Yes, I'll take whatever you can give me." He goes, "Lee, listen, I'm not going to complicate it. I'm just going to give you the core essentials of how to land a plane. And Lee, you can do this. But Lee, I need you to breathe." You know, that flight instructor knew something about cortisol. He knew something about pressure. He knew about something about self-regulating emotions. He knew that when a person gets hijacked, that cortisol takes over and hijacks your rational brain, and you go over to that emotional side of your brain, which is fight or flight. And he got Lee to breathe and oxygenate his blood and oxygenate his brain, and all of a sudden his rational thoughts started to come back. And then he said, "Lee, now let's talk about those core essentials," as that plane was bobbing around. And it was an amazing landing. It was probably the ugliest landing you've ever seen in a plane. Okay? Lee Capps came in. It was not a graceful landing. He came in like a drunk duck. He was all over the place. But he landed that plane and was able to walk away. And later when they asked him, Lee, what do you attribute the success of that landing? He said 2 things. He knew what they were. Number 1, I had a good flight instructor. God bless that man. Not too much information, just the core essentials. But number 2, I'll take credit for the other thing. I had a willingness to take the controls. A willingness to take the controls. Friends, I want to say something that I believe in all my heart. That personal development, reaching your potential, requires a couple things. 1, flight instructors, coaches, leaders, mentors. The greatest gift you can give your team is to be a flight instructor. Not a micromanager, a leader that gives people core essentials of how to lead and succeed. That's what my dad gave me in the restaurant business. Core essentials, fundamentals. And that's what you are. That's all that I am today. I'm simply I'm a flight instructor today. Maybe not the best, but I'm a flight instructor in emotional intelligence and high potential. I'm going to give you not a lot of information, but I am going to give you 5 things. I'm going to give you 5 core essentials to reach your full potential, to make a dramatic shift. Dan wrote in the opening paragraph in his welcome in the program, he talks about this is the conference for the innovator. This is the conference for the thought leader. This is a conference where you lead your pharmacies in new innovations and chart new paths. And he even uses the word shift. And that's what I want to provide is 5 shifts. Turn to someone and say, you are not broken. Say that to somebody. You are not broken. You might look from time to time or feel from time to time, but you're not broken. But we all can make a shift. When it comes to emotional intelligence, one of the keys is going to be this, that you increase your self-awareness as a personal leader, that you understand not only your strengths and your weaknesses. I used to think leaders had to be good at everything. They don't. But they do need to know their core competencies, and they need to magnify those core competencies, and they need to staff around their weaknesses. And they also need to be aware of their mood and their attitude. They need to take a self-audit and figure out what type of emotional exchange they're giving their team and their customers. 76% of people that leave a business leave for feelings of indifference. The last thing my dad used to say, Steve, we've got like 30 restaurants within a 3 or 4 mile radius of us in our little hometown. They could go to a lot of restaurants. Why do they come to Tom's? Because we treat them like royalty. We look them in the eye. We smile. We surprise and delight them. And then we sincerely thank them. We're not going to be indifferent. We're going to be the opposite of indifferent. We're going to appreciate every single person. And he used to say, treat them like a 10. I don't care if they're buying coffee or they're buying the whole, big breakfast with the whole family. Treat everybody like a 10 and we're going to treat our team, our employees. He used to call it our team. We're going to treat our team like family. Because the way we treat the team is the way they're going to treat our customer. Be self-aware as a leader. The other thing is self-regulation of those emotions. Self-regulation of those emotions. Learning how to manage cortisol. We call them the 17% moments. 83% of the time you're going to be high functioning. 83% of the time you're going to handle the emotions. 83% of the time you're going to handle the task at hand and the relationships. That number doesn't really matter. We expect you to operate at your full potential in the 83% moments. The determining number isn't 83, it's the 17%. Studies reveal that that's the 17% moments is when you're in a Lee Capps moment, when you're under stress. Maybe not life-threatening, but you have a challenging relationship with work or a vendor or an employee. How you handle the 17% moments will determine your true leadership influence, like John talked about, and your reputation. Not the 83, the 17. Can you self-regulate? Toughest person to lead is who? Myself. I've got to learn to manage those 18 minutes when that cortisol is at its heightened peak in my bloodstream. If I can learn to stop, if I can learn to breathe, if I can learn to disengage even for a few moments so I can re-engage more powerfully and come up with a better solution and not jump to judgment or not retaliate with that quick email. How many of you have ever written an email, gone to lunch, come back and said, "Thank God I didn't send that"? Anybody besides me? Yeah. Often it's just the one phrase, right? It's just the one shift. How do you self-regulate and breathe and manage yourself in those moments? And then what we're going to talk about this morning is self-motivation. It's my favorite subject, is how to keep that potential at its peak, how to manage through those 17% moments, how to maintain a full potential, how to reach your highest level of achievement. And we're going to talk about these 5 shifts. 5 leadership shifts, I call them, to continue to operate at your full potential. In working with 30 coaching clients, 6 of whom are CEOs, I coached the Chief Operating Officer of the Seattle Seahawks, Chuck Arnold, an amazing guy. Amy Springer is the highest-ranking female executive in the NFL. Mike Sims, who oversees $18 billion of business at Microsoft. Some great, awesome leaders. And if you look back over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, they haven't had to make quantum leaps to get to the next level. But they have made intentional shifts. The difference between good and great that I have found in working one-on-one with leaders is some people just stay the same. They're not making the improvements. They're not pressing themselves. I had the privilege of speaking with Magic Johnson this last fall, and I got to be in the kind of the green room area prior to his speaking. I came in a little bit late because I flew in from Seattle and snuck in. I love Magic, and the thing I picked up in his last talk when I was with him in this one is this is a guy that's dedicated to continual improvement. Didn't you love that about him? I mean, I've listened to a lot of professional athletes, Hall of Fame athletes, that just kind of tell the stories of that. I love the fact that when Magic talked and when someone asked him, what's your greatest accomplishments, what was it? Like his investment in urban America and small businesses and the scholarships and it's all about personal growth for Magic. It's all about shifts that he's making, learning, growing. And I want to challenge you coming out of this conference, you've already got some great ideas. Your mind is already clicking. I can apply this. I can apply that in my store, in my pharmacy. And I can increase my influence this way. But the real key is, will you be intentional and really seize upon it? There are 5 shifts that if I'll make continually, we will reach our full potential. These haven't been taken out of a book, by the way. In 1995, I made a decision to read a book a month. I went to a conference, a personal development conference, and the guy said, I'm going to challenge you to read a book a month. And I was scared to death to make that commitment because I would maybe read a book a year, but I made that commitment. Single greatest decision I ever made was to begin a journey of personal development and shifting in my own life. But what I'm going to share with you right now, we'll go through it rapidly, wasn't taken out of a book. It was taken out of what I call the school of hard knocks. Scrapping and clawing, failing forward, getting back up, and trying again. What are those 5 shifts? Number 1, I'm going to ask you to jot these down if you would. We've got a shift, and this is a big one. We got a shift from victim to leader. I'm not talking about true victimization that we've seen the horrors of recently in shootings and such. I'm talking about the insidious mindset that can encroach each of our minds, that can kind of get into our personal mindset, our DNA mindset. It's a negativity, a cynicism. A victim mindset is a mindset that doesn't fully feel they're in control of their destiny. And there needs to be a shift. Admittedly, I'm from Seattle. I love Coach Carroll. I work with the corporate team. One of the things that Coach Carroll that I really admire, again, I don't work with any of the teams but the corporate side, but I get to watch and observe him. He's now the oldest coach in the NFL. You talk about energy. You talk about an emotional economy. But one thing I love about Carroll is when a player comes on, whether you be a rookie or you've been traded, you're a free agent, they meet with those players and they hand them a sheet and they said, we don't only want you to read this sheet, we want you to live this. It's called the language of the Seahawks. And he believes, and I love coaches from lots of different sectors. But when I heard that, and I was actually privy to get a copy of it, and they give it even to the whole corporate team now, they believe that you lead with your language. And if you want to know what's going on in a person, I can be with a person for 60 minutes and I can tell you coming away, and it's not a judgment, I can just tell you whether they are a follower or a leader just by their language. Leaders speak differently, don't they? They have a different mindset. Followers and victims, and I've fallen into that trap where I got into it. I wrote down a little list. Victims talk about what they, and I don't even like this word, but they will actually talk about things they hate, things they dislike. Leaders talk about things they like and things that they love. Victims talk about their problems. They accentuate it. Leaders are always talking about their opportunities and their solutions. That's what I like about this conference. It's solution-oriented. And you're around solution finders. Victims talk about what makes them tired. You know what? I cut that out of my language years ago. I actually get tired of people that talk about being tired. And I also don't say that I'm getting old. Because the more I say I'm getting old and I'm getting tired, guess what? I get older and more tired. I like to talk about, and leaders talk about not being tired, they talk about being inspired. Victims talk about their past, they rehearse it, they accentuate it. Leaders are talking about the present, they can't wait to forecast the future. Victims talk about what breaks their heart. Leaders always talk about what opens their heart. Victims talk about things that aren't working. Leaders are talking about the things that are working, that they are implementing. Victims talk about being a victim. Leaders talk about being a leader. I have 3 adult children, 6 grandchildren. And I made a lot of mistakes in my parenting, but I'll tell you one thing I didn't make a mistake in. So when I would drive my kids to school, before they got out of the car, I would tell them 2 things. Number 1, I love you. Number 2, be a leader today. Be the example. Lead today. My daughter owns and operates her own real estate firm with her husband. My son is in law enforcement. He's a SWAT officer and a leader in his department. My other son is in sales. And I can't wait. I've got some 6-year-olds all the way down to little toddler babies, and I'm already whispering into their ears, be an example, be a leader. I fell into the trap of cynicism about 5 years ago. My self-talk was getting negative. My business had flattened out. The economy has contracted. People weren't hiring trainers and speakers and coaches as like they were. I found myself accusing situations to excuse my own poor behavior. Negativity began to show up a little bit in my home. I was kind of sour and down and a little bit negative around my wife. I wasn't negative so much around the obvious people I need to be okay with, but it was infecting me. And I got a call from a friend of mine who's in marketing, a guy that I've done business with. He said, Steve, you know that I have this side business in the summer called the Orange Torpedo Rafting Trips. He goes, I've always had a dream. You know, I do team building trips. I go, yeah, I know about that, Jim. He goes, I've always had a dream of having 1 week dedicated to like nonprofit and do like experiential trips with maybe like teens at risk, and we could take them down these rivers and do kayaking and rafting trips. And he goes, I actually got the nonprofit. We're going to do the inaugural trip this August. I'd like you to come and be the inaugural speaker. We're going to camp for 4 or 5 days on the riverbanks, and you can speak to these teens and you can inspire them, Steve. Have you ever been in a place where you're in a bit of a funk? Anybody? I'm just, true confession, a pity party. Yeah, I was in the doldrums. I was in the doldrums. So when he was saying that, I was viewing it and listening to it through the lens of obligation, not opportunity. I was actually thinking 2 things. Number 1, I don't like to camp. Never have liked to camp. I like to stay at like the Hyatt Regency, okay? And I don't particularly care for teens. I never have. Teens at risk scare me. I raised teenagers. I loved them, but we got through those years. I literally was thinking that. I don't really like to camp. I don't even like teenagers. But I said, I felt obligated. Oh, sure, absolutely, Jim. A week before it, and you'll appreciate this because one of your speakers has this. He said, Steve, we couldn't get the teens at risk. There were some legal problems, but we did get the Oregon State Burn Institute. We've got 40 burn victims coming from Emmanuel Hospital. We've sent your bio. They're so excited to hear from you. I said, what? Yeah, 40 burn victims from the burn unit. I go, wow. He goes, you'll need to be at Emmanuel Hospital that Sunday at 6:30. There's a school bus. We'll check in, drive 4 hours south to Rogue River. You're going to be with them for 4 days, Steve. It's going to be an amazing opportunity for you. I showed up like a kid going to summer camp, man. I've never been so nervous. I was nearly shaking. I had my duffel bag. There was the little card table, and one by one they started coming out. The first young woman, these are people with burns 35 to 95% of their bodies. The first person that came out was a young woman. Half of her face was normal, the other half fully burned and no ear. The next gentleman was like our hero that spoke to you. 95% of his body burned, no ears, no nose, 2 beady eyes, and he walked upright and stiff because of all the issues that he had in his body, the scar tissue issues. We sat in the school bus and Jim said, Steve, we can sit here and talk to ourselves, or we can move around this bus and get to know these good people. And I literally was shaking as I got up and went around the bus and began to hear their stories one by one. Guess what started to peel back? Self-pity, negativity, victim mentality. After the first day they were on the river, they were laughing and rooting each other on, and there was all these can-dos and cheering each other, optimism, talk about our brother that talked about resiliency. They were all about resiliency. It was amazing. And that first night I got up before them and I said, Jim asked me to come inspire you. Are you kidding, man? Watching you guys today was what I needed. Thank you for inspiring me. But I need to be honest, I was nervous coming here because I've never been around burn victims. And this young man, I kid you not, held up a prosthetic limb and said, Mr. Gutzler, in all due respect, sir, we don't refer to ourselves as victims. We are burn survivors. Burn survivors, sir. And what I learned in their rehab and the things that they have gone through and the counseling and the support, and even in times of they talked about that resiliency. They talked about surviving. They talked that the burn didn't ultimately have to define their life. It was a part of their story. We all have scars, don't we? We all have points of failure, don't we? There can be divorce, there can be things in our business or things that, a business failing, but that's a part of our story. We can actually turn failure into a friend, a coach, and a mentor to make us better. The key decision for each one of us today is, am I going to make that shift? Fortunately for me, I had 4 days. I made some decisions, friend, and I got to tell you, God's honest truth, I wouldn't be standing here today had I not made that decision. 5 years ago, I made a decision, no more victim speak. No more victim thoughts, and no more victim actions. I'm going to start thinking, speaking, and acting like a leader. You know what's going to attract a whole different result in your life? What you think and speak. What you say to your spouse. How you speak to your children. I see a lot of, quote, bosses, and that's all they are bosses. They're not leaders. Come into work and they don't even greet their team. You set the tone. Your words are life and death to that team. They carry burdens. They're paying bills. They're struggling in marriages. What you say to them can make or break a day. I want everyone to say, shift from victim to leader. Would you say that? Shift from victim to leader. Let's make that intentional choice. These are decisions that we can do. The second shift is shift from what I call BW vision, black and white vision, to HD. I heard there's even HDR. Black and white vision, nondescript, mediocre vision, to HD. This really dates me. I can actually remember black and white televisions. Anybody old enough to remember black and white TVs? Yeah. And when we first got married, when Julie and I first got married, we had a little tiny TV. It's like a donation. Here you go. Here's your first TV. And then we graduated up to about an 18-inch TV. And then I'll never forget, we got a Sony 35-inch television. It was like this, and it was about that wide. Took like 4 men to carry into our house. I was so excited. Then we got our first big, flat screen. And the HD, I'll never forget watching Open Range, and it looked like the horses were just going to come right out of the screen. The difference between black and white and HDR is night and day. And the big game changer next to how you speak is, what is your personal vision going to be in the next 6 to 12 months? You say, well, what do you mean vision? What do you want to accomplish? What type of person do you want to be? Where do you see your pharmacy? Where do you see that store going? Where do you see your marriage and your personal health? What's your vision going to be? There's always two creations. One is an invisible creation. The second is a physical creation. And I love that quote. I've lived by that quote. Vision is a picture of the future, which creates passion in the present. Show me a person who lacks personal vision as far as where they're going, and I'll show you a person who lacks discipline. There's an old proverb that says, where people lack vision, they perish. The word perish doesn't mean they die. It simply means they cast off restraint. There's no discipline in their life. Why? There's no vision. Julie surprised me a few years ago. She said, honey, you won't believe this. I talked to your executive assistant. We've actually blocked off 14 days for a vacation to Italy. I said, what? She goes, yeah, I've planned the whole thing. I go, I can't be away for 14 days. I'd never been away for more than maybe 8 or 9 days. She goes, nope, I've already blocked it out. We're going to Tuscany, we're going to Rome, Venice, we're going to Florence. I go, you're kidding. She goes, no, it was our dream. It's on our bucket list, honey. It's a part of our vision. We're going. I made the decision. And after the shock wore off, I got really excited. And it was an absolute dream trip. It was awesome. And I couldn't wait to go to Florence, Italy, because in Florence was waiting for me the statue of who? David. The great statue, the great 17-foot statue of David created by the great Michelangelo. Michelangelo created David. He was commissioned by the wealthiest family in Italy. The Medicis had commissioned him to create a masterpiece that would be awe-inspiring for a nation. It was going to be put in the town center. It's now housed, of course, in a museum. And Michelangelo said, I'll do it. Couple conditions. One, you pay me really good. Number two, no time limit, because you can't put a time limit on making masterpieces. It took him 2 years to find the marble slab out of which to make David. He found it discarded. It had been brought down years prior and discarded behind a little cottage, and they pulled back the thistles, and there was that huge slab of marble out of which he was going to create David. He had his crew take it to his studio. 2 more years of hammering and chiseling the outline of David. 2 more years of sanding and polishing David. A 6-year process to create a masterpiece. It's put in town center. People gathered from all over the country, 15,000 people. They unveiled it. It was awe-inspiring to thousands and thousands. Now millions of people have been inspired by Michelangelo's creation, the masterpiece David, a 6-year process. When they asked Michelangelo, how did you create David? He said 2 things. I created David in my mind's eye. And then I stripped away everything that wasn't David. Everything great is created in our imagination. Everything great in your life and in my life is created in our imagination. Thinking, what could I accomplish? What type of person could I really become if I took the limits off? And then, don't kid yourself. You got to strip away everything that isn't David. You got to strip away non-essentials. You've got to strip away the things that are hindering and holding you back from your greatest days. And it takes time. And you're worth more than marble. Our society is trying to get you all distracted with this addiction to distraction, all the information and all the social media, which I'm totally into. and all the things on the internet and all the trivial activities that can pull and hinder and strip away from your great, you've got to make the decision to create a great vision for your business. You need to create the vision for your family, for your marriage, for your personal health. Your spouse can't do it. No one else can do it. I can urge you. I can nudge you. I can say, hey, let's make this shift. Your choices create all new results if you're willing to do it. I want everyone to say, shift from BW to HD. Say that. Shift from BW to HD. That's the second big shift. The third is shift from activities to accomplishments. You'll notice the first two. The first one has to do with, of course, our language. The second one has to do with our imagination. This one has to do with prioritization. Once you know what you want, then it's about elimination. Let me say that again. Once you know what you want, it's not necessarily about doing more, it's about eliminating trivial activities that are chewing up too much of your time and shifting towards a focus on your MVPs. We call them your most valuable and profitable use of time. This is a huge shift. I help all of my clients in my coaching make this shift. When we go through the vision, we actually have what's called a life plan. And we do a lot of work around 7 key areas and where they want to be and what are some of the activities and goals. And that's kind of fun and that's kind of exciting. And it's almost like our wonderful illustrator that, creates like this vision board. But then the tough work is making a shift from all of the activities that are chewing up your valuable time and shifting it on the things that only you should do. As an owner, as an operator, as the CEO of your own business. And you've got to make a list of what those MVP, what they are for me is going to be different. What they are for Mike Sims at Microsoft is going to be different. What his MVPs, Chuck Arnold and Amy Springer's at the Seahawks, their MVP list is going to be different. But they have the same challenge as you. Lots of requests, lots of trivial activities that could drain the life out of them. I actually had a business coach work with me and he said, you know what, Steve? You had your busiest year, what was probably your least productive year. You're only doing about 10 or 15% of your working days are focused on true MVP work. Things that really move the needle. You're almost like on a hamster. You're just responding to emails and lots of you're doing expense reports and technology crisis, and you're even in a bunch of areas that you're not even good at. He goes, you need to get focused on your core competencies and things that really move. You need to build powerful, strategic networks. You've got to build a list of MVP clients. And set up a Monday momentum call with Jamie and a Friday follow-up call to make sure you're tracking your strategic plans and goals. And the last thing you need to do is get on email right out of the blocks and get randomized. If that's an MVP email, respond to it. But if not, break away from that. Create a sacred enclosure in the first 60, 90 minutes of your day and focus on MVP work and watch your business change. And when I realized I was only doing 10 to 15, and then Brian Jide, who's a good friend of mine, I actually do leadership coaching for him, but in return he helps me with business coaching. He said, Steve, if you can move from 15 to 30 to 35% of your days focused on what your MVPs is, you could double your income. And in about 12 or 13 months, I doubled my income. I'm now at probably between 50 and 60% of my day is on MVP work. I have an executive assistant. The very first time I got an assistant, I really couldn't afford it. But you know what? I couldn't afford not to. The very first assistant I had for 10 hours a week. Gave her full access to my email. Said, please do my expense reports. Please. I started offloading more and more and more. All of a sudden, I realized more and more business was growing. I added more hours. Now, Jamie, my executive assistant, who's worked with this wonderful team, man, she is on it all the time. I was traveling. She was doing a bunch of work. We figured out what my green lights are. We call them green light activities that I need to focus on. That means go. This is where I need to be in my space, most valuable and profitable. I don't need to be in trivial or low value activities. We actually have green, yellows, and reds, because some of the yellows we co-partner with. They're admins that kind of support our greens. But part of what we've set up is very clear roles and responsibilities for me and Jamie. I'm going to ask that you do something with, just for a moment. I want you to turn to somebody, and I want you to, it could be a spouse or a friend or a colleague or someone you don't even know, and I want you to share 2 MVP activities that could be your highest value activities that you need to focus more on. Just for 3 minutes, I want you to both share what's an MVP that you could focus on that's going to give you the greatest return for your investment. Real quick. 3-4 minutes. Let's do that. Share what an MVP is. Okay, now what I want you to do, come back everybody real quick. I know we didn't get I want you to, here's your homework. Are you ready? I'm going to give you a couple pieces of homework. I want you to create a green circle. You can't do it right now, but when you get home on a half sheet of paper, I want you literally to make a green circle and a red circle. It's important that you get markers that actually are green and red. One is going to represent go, grow, dough. Red is going to be stop. Doesn't mean you can't do it all together. Just don't do it early in your day. What I have found is the first 60 to 90 minutes of my working day is the most important. That needs to be MVP. As my day progresses, it's like yours. I have to kind of begin to triage the day as it's coming at me. Priorities kind of change. I need to be nimble. I need to offload or delegate or outsource. I need to refocus. Hey, here's an MVP that just came out online. Does that make sense? But I found the first 60 to 90 minutes before the day gets too hectic, that's where I need to really focus my energy. And if I can get 2, I call them 2 working green light hours per day, it can make a dramatic, it might be working on marketing that isn't all that, glamorous or easy for some of us. It might be doing some team building or mentoring or coaching or investing in your team or training. These things have great returns on the investment. It's much easier to just get behind a computer. It's much easier to just get buried and feel the instant gratification of checking off a bunch of things or clearing out your inbox. But is it your most valuable and profitable? And I can only speak for myself and countless other clients. This has been the game changer for us. But you have to figure out what are the trivial activities, technology crisis. I call them high maintenance, low value clients. Low value emails, expense reports, filling out forms, a lot of different admin kinds of things. Again, I've got an executive assistant. I think everyone in here should have some form of an executive assistant. I believe mine is from North Carolina. I live in Seattle. We're virtual. We haven't even met in person yet. Jamie's been on my team for over a year. But man, and we do get to meet in just a couple months. And man, what a gift she is to be able to do that. So that's a big one. A big game changer is that shift from activity to accomplishment. The fourth shift is one of my favorite, and it's so near and dear to my heart. It's shifting from being smart to being smart and healthy. I see today so many leaders that are really smart. I mean, they really are. You talk about the difference between IQ and EI, emotional intelligence. These are smart leaders. They've got strategy, knowledge, technology. They know finances. They even hire great people. But they're not healthy. And they haven't created a healthy culture. They've not created a culture of emotional intelligence, communication, minimal politics, collaboration, empowering others. Part of being smart and healthy is taking care of yourselves. I talk often about the 3 buckets with all of my clients. I'll go, look, I can't fill these. I can't fill this bucket. Your spouse can't fill this bucket. No one on your team can fill this bucket. There are 3 buckets that you need to fill and I need to fill. The first bucket I need to fill is my own physical bucket. I need to be a corporate athlete. I need to train. I need to take care of myself. I need to physically train. My physicality is very important. That's going to have a huge tie-in. It's going to build emotional reserves for me. You talk about emotional intelligence. I need to have a fitness plan. I have to have a nutrition plan where I view food not just as pleasure, but as fuel. Yes, part of food is pleasure, but it shouldn't be 80% pleasure. Should be about 80% fuel. Good foods, nutritional plans that keep you strong and healthy. Physical plan. If I were to say, what's your physical plan? You should be able to tell me. Maybe it's yoga. Maybe it's walking. I've got one of my clients last year that lost 30 pounds, the CEO of Woods Coffee. It's a big coffee company up in the Pacific Northwest where I am. And I was so proud. He goes, Steve, I really don't have time to exercise, like go to gyms and stuff. I go, well, you got to find something. I go, before next month, you got to come up with your plan, man, or I'm going to fire myself on a spot. I'm not going to be doing you any good if I'm not a coach that, speaks the truth to you. So the next month, he goes, guess what? I made a decision. I'm going to start walking. Because I like audio books, and I'm going to start listening. In the course of a year, I think he listened to 12 or 15 books. And he started walking 20 minutes down on this waterfront, and then 20 minutes, about 40-minute walk, rain or shine. And trust me, it rains a lot up there in the Northwest, but he put on his slicker and he'd get out there and he'd walk, and he was listening and he was learning. And the more he walked and the more he listened, the more energy he got. And over the course of a year, he lost about 30 pounds. And you want to talk about self-confidence. You want to talk about self-concept. You want to talk about energy. The greatest asset a leader possesses is what? Their energy. Not just the physical energy, the energy to be present, the energy to be engaged. And you're not going to be engaged and present if you're not taking care of yourself. What's another piece of that physical bucket that's so important? It's going to be your sleep. The one we overlook, or at least I have, and I've struggled with it. But my wife and I have worked really hard at trying to get quality sleep, trying to figure out, we've got blackout shades and we do aromatherapy and we've done things. We turn off devices. We actually plug in, put these little babies away at night at about 8 o'clock rather than being on devices. Unplugging one day a week has really helped me. I don't need to be addicted to this. I don't need to be at a playground with my grandkids and them say, "Pops, put your phone away." It makes me feel guilty. It makes me feel bad. Why am I on my phone with my grandchildren? I need to be healthy. I need to have a physical bucket that is honoring. Why do we take care of ourselves? Because we want to fulfill our mission. We only get one life. We only get one shot. Got to fulfill our mission. What's the second bucket that you fill? It's your emotional bucket. Your emotional bucket. Everyone say this phrase with me, would you? Recreational activities. Say that. Recreational activities. Say it one more time. Recreational activities. Recreation. The lost art of recreation. Here's your second homework assignment. Pick a recreation that has nothing to do with technology. Find something that you enjoy. Revisit a recreation that fills your emotional bucket. You know what fills our emotional bucket? Things that bring us joy, things that bring us satisfaction. Some people it might be cooking good meals. My wife loves to do gardening as the weather begins to improve in Seattle and we start getting these sun breaks and we start cleaning up our deck and getting out plants, and she's got an herb garden, and I've got two dogs. I got a Doberman and a Golden, of all things, two opposites, but they love each other, and we get out there on those walks, and I put my phone away, and I go on this walk, and that's where I have my thinking time, and I get to fill my physical bucket. I do work out besides that, but the walk is for the emotional well-being. And I came across a Native American prayer, which I think is just lovely, and I've tried to practice it on that walk, whereas I'm on those trails and I'm seeing my dogs run around and play. That alone brings me joy. It's really fun to get out there on those back trails. Just a 25-minute walk. But the simple prayer is, what do I appreciate in front of me? And often I'll just see them playing. What do I appreciate to my left? And I'll look at these trees and this foliage, and I'll usually see something I wouldn't have even thought about. What do I appreciate to my right? What do I appreciate behind me? And I'll look back, and the sun will be coming through. What do I appreciate above me? And in Seattle, we get all sorts of crazy cloud formations. And finally, what do I appreciate within me? And that little prayer, that little reset, does something for me. A few years ago, I made a decision. I needed to start my day better, and I made a commitment to do a ritual hour. Now, not everybody can do this, so don't get caught up on the fact I would never be able to do an hour. That's not the point of me saying it. The point is I needed to start my day differently. I'd had a couple health scares and stress-induced things that were going on in my life, and I could just feel the adrenaline and cortisol and the pressure that I was under was taking a toll on me. And my physician actually said, "Steve, you need to start slower in the morning. I mean, as soon as you jump out, you're like on Mach 2. So I committed to a ritual hour a 20-20-20, and it doesn't always fall in that perfect little segment, but 15 to 20 minutes I try to have a spiritual focus. I literally write a prayer out. And I listen to Paul Cardell, who does instrumental music on Pandora, and I brew my coffee, and I have at least 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Then about 15 to 20 minutes is I'll read whatever book I'm reading. And that helps me focus. I'm not looking at devices. I'm not jumping into email. I'm working on Steve. And then the last is I start getting my game face on, and I'll start thinking. I got this from my great mentor, John Maxwell, who was here. I think I have all of John's books. I'm pretty close. And he said, every day, figure out what your main events are. What's your main event? What's your MVPs? And I know before I even get into my working hour and my working day, what are my top 3 priorities for that day that I'm going to hit out of the park. And that ritual hour has changed me. That emotional bucket. The third is what I just mentioned, is the spiritual bucket. Honor yourself. You're not a machine. You're a human being. And part of that is a spiritual being as well. How you would define that, how I would define that may be differently, but we're not machines. We're never designed just to grind through life. We're designed to have meaningful, purposeful lives that are balanced. And that's an important shift to make. I'm going to ask that you now have another discussion, and this is just going to be 3 minutes. I want you to talk about a goal that you want to set around one of those 3 buckets. Is it the physical? Is it the emotional? Or is it the spiritual? And I want you to come up with one specific SMART goal of what you're going to act upon. We talked about all of this has to be intentional. We're almost done. I really want you to come up with an intentional goal around one of those 3 buckets, okay? Just 3 to 4 minutes with that partner. Are you going to set a goal, physical, emotional, or spiritual, and tell them what you're going to do coming out of this conference? Let's do that. Next 3-4 minutes. Let's do that right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's come back. I want you to jot that goal down. I want you to write it down, document it. Document it. Write it down, write that goal down, document it. I was really fortunate. My dad owned and operated that restaurant, and we had a little rambler, but we had a little basement underneath it, and I had a bedroom down there, and going down into my bedroom, my dad would put butcher paper down on by the staircase, and he had goals. He had annual goals, annual stretch goals, and then he also had 30-day momentum goals. It's funny because I use the same thing with my clients. I go, look, you got to have some life-changing goals. Quantum leap goals. We call it the Big Five. 3 professional, 2 personal quantum leap goals this year. But you also need to set up 30-day momentum goals, things that are going to get you quick wins and get you momentum. Momentum is a leader's best friend next to their personal confidence. If you get a little bit of momentum, if you start pushing over some dominoes, it creates a chain reaction. Goal setting is big when it comes to being smart and healthy. And I'm going to challenge you to fill that physical bucket. Think about it. Get a trainer. Think about it. Get a nutritionist. Get somebody that's going to challenge you, hold you accountable. Think in terms of that emotional bucket, those recreational activities, and finally that spiritual, the final shift, and it is going to be the most significant because it pulls it all together, is shifting from going fast to finishing. Going fast to finishing. My whole life has been about going fast. My whole life, especially since I got married and we started having kids and building a business, has always been about speed. Rapidly getting up in the morning, going fast, moving from thing to thing. But unfortunately, when you move really fast, you begin to miss things, don't you? Have you found that to be true? Sometimes I was moving so fast, I was missing the golden moments that were right in front of me. And I still struggle with that when I'm at the playground. I still struggle when I'm with my grandkids. I want to look at email and really, do I want to climb around this jungle gym for the next 20 minutes? Well, I guess we will. This is going to be life for the next 20 minutes. But it's not always about going fast, is it? It's about what? It's about finishing. It's about finishing with the people that matter most to you. And I want you to begin to think about this conference. I want you to begin to think about the people in your life that you want to finish. One of my favorite things that we do with our coaching clients is we do what's called an ahead to 85 exercise. I'll go, I want you to think about where you want to end up. Not like you're going to die at 85, but that's going to be your twilight years, right? Who do you want to be with? What do you want your health to look like? What do you want to be doing? I want you to project forward so when we come back, we can begin to design a life that matters for you. And that's an amazing thing. I was reading about these people have amazing financial means. And they go on these climbing expeditions to the Swiss Alps. One of the requirements is you can't ever have climbed a mountain before in your life. But you're going to come to this camp. They're going to teach you 3 days how to climb, how to rope up, how to work as a team. And then on the final day, you'll get to climb and actually hit one of these beautiful Swiss Alps. It's going to be life-changing. It's going to be amazing. So everybody arrives. They come from different international countries. They're all excited. They go through the orientation. It's challenging. They learn to work together as a team. And then on the final day before the climb, they go, hey, now tomorrow is the day. Tomorrow is the big climb. It's going to be tougher than any of these little small climbs that we've done, but it's going to be exhilarating. It's going to be one of the greatest things you've ever accomplished in your life. So tomorrow morning, we're going to get you up at 3 a.m. Be ready. It's going to be awesome. And they can't wait. They can't sleep. They're like kids before Christmas. They're tossing and turning, and then the alarms go off. They go, okay, everybody, gear up. Let's go. These are people with great financial means. These are type A's. They gear up. They're ready to make their climb. And they get out there, and they start climbing. And it's a lot more arduous. It's a lot more difficult than they ever imagined. And they start moving and climbing. And the plan is you got to get to the halfway house. We'll have some lunch. We'll have a warm sandwich, some coffee and hot cocoa. And then the second half of the day, you'll summit. And you'll experience something you've never experienced before in your life. It's going to be spectacular. It's going to be magnificent. And they start climbing, and it is a lot difficult than they ever imagined. And they're working, and they're climbing. And it looks just like that picture. They're working hard. But they know they can at least make it to the halfway house. And everybody, according to the climbing school, makes it to the halfway house. Everybody's able to climb and get there. And they get in there and they eat their sandwiches and they drink their hot cocoa and they have their hot coffee and they warm their bodies. They take off the backpacks. And then the instructors say, okay, gear up, let's summit. And a really interesting thing happens at that point. I bet you can guess what's going to happen. They said, without exception, according to this climbing school, about 50% of the people say no. This is a lovely halfway house. I'm staying right here. I'm going to have another sandwich and load me up with more hot cocoa. And they have another cup of hot cocoa. And they have another sandwich. And they said, it's really interesting. The guide said you could never, ever predict who's going to summit and who's going to quit. In fact, if you line everybody up, the guides are always taking bets. I bet he's going to make it. I bet she's going to make it. It's, oh, nope, he opted out. I can't believe it. The stud opted out. And the ones that put on the gear, they put on those gears and they head out, and they have a somber look on your face because when you summit, it's tough. And they start climbing, and everybody in the halfway house gets all giddy. It's almost like a little party breaks out. They're all happy in the halfway house. Until about 2.5 hours later, somebody goes over to the window and they say, hey guys, come here. Take a look at this. And they all look down and they all look up. And up at the summit are all those climbers, and they're pulling out their international flags, and they are waving and celebrating. And they are hugging. And they are high-fiving. And all of a sudden, it gets very quiet in the halfway house. And when those climbers come down, those guides say, hey, look, guys, the guys that quit, the guys that were in the halfway house, they're not going to be very happy when you come in. So don't pour salt on their wounds. Let's just kind of be mellow about it. But when they get in there, guess who wants to celebrate now? The summiters. When they ask the climbing guides, what is it? What's the secret ingredient to summiting? They said it's people, men and women, who make a predetermination to finish. It's like there's no option. They've taken choice out of it. It's not based on feeling. It's not based on emotion. Friends, my final challenge to you is the biggest, toughest one of all. I'm going to challenge you in life, in marriage, in parenting, in your business, in your life, to finish. Predetermined to finish. Lock it in. Make a determination that this year you are going to push through quitting points. Push through those quitting points. The only thing really that separated me from, I think, anyone else certainly isn't my IQ, and it might not even be my EI skills. They're pretty good, but one thing I know for sure is I don't quit. And that's a great ingredient for personal leadership in life, for your store, for your pharmacy, for you as a personal leader, as a husband, as a father, as a wife, and as a mother, that you don't quit, that you create a family legacy of strength and personal confidence. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for what you do. I want to thank you for the leaders that you are. You are the elite performers. You are going to reach your potential. I want to thank you for the gift of your time. God bless you, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All right, Erica. All right, Erica, let's go. All right, we got some stuff to give away, some raffles. We're still just a few thousand short of the $100,000 goal. It's within sight. So if you have it in you, we'd appreciate it. But okay.
So this is for the vacation house in North Carolina.
I can't read the writing. I think Brian Fiorin from Amanda Hemp. Brian from Amanda Hemp has won a vacation home in a week in Newland, North Carolina.
Nice.
So congratulations to Brian. What else?
All right, so this is for the 50-50. Whoever wins this can keep half of the money or decide to donate all of it to Pause for Liberty. Whatever you want to do. All right.
So, and how much is it?
Right, it's $700.
It's $700.
Yep. All right, so the ticket number is 1807331. 1807331.
Okay, so let's hold on to that one. I'll take this from you. And the diamond and sapphire bracelet.
Yeah. Okay, this one is 6913804.
And what is it that they're winning?
They're winning a diamond and sapphire bracelet, if I can.
Like a tennis bracelet.
Yeah, you can. It's pretty.
All right, read that number again for us. Yeah. This was the diamond and sapphire bracelet, yes. And that winning number is
6913804.
And then go to the pause for the. We have a winner? Oh, congratulations back there. Let's give her a big round of applause. Very nice. Thank you so much.
So there it is. All right.
Alrighty.
And it's all you need.
Should I take them back?
Yeah, but just don't confuse the winning tickets. Okay.
We love dad and daughter talk on stage. All right, cool. Sweetheart, you've done a good job. Don't confuse the tickets. We don't want to make anyone upset. All right, so I think we've got some vendor shout-outs. I'm going to grab 4 winning tickets and join you on stage for our raffles.
Yes.
Right here. Yes, sir.
How'd you like Steve Gussler? Is that good? All right. Bringing it all together. Joey texted me, he thought I maybe brought it specifically for him. How many of you felt a lot of it applied, you could apply it in your lives? I think everybody, it's one of those things. All right.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Excuse me. Gulf Coast Pharmaceuticals Plus. They're in booth 728 at the right side of the exhibit hall, towards the back. It's a $250 Capital Grille gift certificate.
Wow, very nice.
Which is a very, very nice dinner for two. They're a fully licensed wholesale distributor that introduces new products to the pharmacy market via their direct partnership with PureTech Corporation for the sole purpose of increasing profit margins using higher adjudicating items. And they also help pharmacies with script pad analysis, copay assistance, flexible payment options, and no minimum orders to help save each pharmacy on their bottom line. So that's booth 728 Gulf Coast for $250 Capital Grille certificate.
All right, and that winner for booth 728 is 352728. 352728. You can claim that $250 Capital Grille gift card from 728, that booth. Thank you so much. All right, Dan, who's next?
All right, I'm going to read their description because I have to admit some of this stuff I don't even know what it is. Shea 2, I think that's how they say it, booth 424. Shea 2's healthcare technology experience encompasses the entire continuum of care, including revenue cycle management and automation for insurance eligibility verification, including batching capability, EHR, e-prescribing, remote patient monitoring, HL7 programming, I have no idea what that is, and clinical decision support. But they're located at booth 424. They do not have a raffle item.
All right, very good.
ARL Bio Farm, they're in booth 500. They're the second booth to the left in the exhibit hall. ARL Biopharma provides analytical and microbiological testing for compounding pharmacies, outsourcing facilities, and health system pharmacies. Laboratory services routinely include sterility, endotoxin, potency, stability, and compatibility studies, full compendial testing, and method development and validation. They're booth 500, ARL Biopharma. And the last one, and they're giving away a Fire HD10 tablet with Alexa hands-free. There is Health Datix, and they're in booth 730 at the right side of the exhibit hall, all the way to the back, and they are software for annual wellness business that ensures accurate CMS billing and automatically creates all the CMS required reporting.
All right, and what was it that they were giving away?
They are giving away, I was afraid it was going to be an echo. Fire HD10 tablet with Alexa hands-free.
All right, very good. And that is going to 351472. 351472 gets that tablet. Thank you so much. Hey, how about a big round of, that was our last shout out for all the vendors.
That was our last
shout out. How about a big round of applause for all the fantastic vendors out there? We appreciate their participation. It'd be tough to do it without them, and we thank you for your time and your dedication to the conference.
All right, we're actually going to get to lunch for.
I love lunch.
For at an early time today. We will be back at 1:45. You can wrap up with the vendors. We'll come back and we'll do a wrap up and follow up.
Sounds good.
We'll see everybody back here at Sam 1:45.
1:45.
1:45.
All right, 1:45. We'll see you, buddy. Enjoy lunch. We'll see you soon.
Have a good lunch.